Hey coin collectors and treasure hunters, welcome back to the channel where we uncover the hidden value in your pocket change. Today, we're diving into the top 6 most valuable Washington quarter-dollar coins. From rare mint errors to historical, strikes worth thousands. Let's get started. First, let's begin with some context. The 1983 Washington quarter was minted in large numbers, with over 673 million struck at the Philadelphia Mint and over 500 million at the Denver Mint. There were no proof coins made at the San Francisco Mint for circulation in 1983, as that year's proof sets were made entirely at San Francisco using different processes. So the standard 1983 quarters found in circulation are business strikes made for everyday use. Now you might be wondering, why does a 1983 quarter sometimes appear with a black or dark shade? These coins were not intentionally made this way by the U.S. Mint. In fact, the black coloration is typically a result of environmental exposure or chemical reactions after the coin has been in circulation for a long time. Factors like heat, humidity, oxidation, or even contact with certain materials can cause the coin's copper-nickel surface to darken or turn nearly black. In some cases, the coin might have been buried, exposed to fire, or subjected to artificial toning by individuals hoping to make it look rare. Because of this, a black-shaded 1983 quarter doesn't automatically make it a valuable error coin. Most of the time, coins like this are considered damaged or environmentally toned. They generally hold no extra numismatic value unless they also feature other collectible traits like a mint error, off-center strike, or high-grade condition. That being said, 1983 quarters themselves do have some collector interest, especially in higher grades. That's because no uncirculated mint sets were released by the U.S. Mint in 1982 or 1983. That makes high-quality business strikes from those years a little more difficult to find in pristine condition. As a result, a 1983 Washington quarter, graded mint state 65 or higher by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, can be worth significantly more than face value. Prices can range from $20 to over $500 depending on the grade and demand. Now let's talk numbers. If you have a typical circulated 1983 quarter with black toning and no significant errors, it's likely worth only its face value, 25 cents. However, if your coin is in exceptional condition with full luster, sharp details, and minimal contact marks, it might be worth getting it graded. Mint state examples without toning have sold for $100 to $200, and those with extremely high grades like MS67 or MS68 can go for even more. On the other hand, if your black-shaded coin also has a verified mint error, like being struck on the wrong planchet or showing doubling on the design, it could command a much higher price. Some known 1983 error quarters have sold for hundreds, and even thousands of dollars depending on the type and rarity of the error. So to summarize, a black or dark-toned 1983 Washington quarter isn't necessarily rare or valuable on its own. Its color is most likely due to environmental exposure, not a special minting process. However, 1983 quarters in general do have collector demand in high grades due to the absence of mint sets that year. And if your coin features an error or is in mint condition, it could be worth much more than face value. Next up, the 1966 Washington quarter was part of a major shift in U.S. coinage. Prior to 1965, quarters were made of 90% silver. But by the mid-1960s, due to rising silver prices and a coin shortage, the U.S. Mint changed the composition. The 1966 quarter was struck using a clad composition. That's a copper core sandwiched between 2 layers of copper-nickel alloy. This new format eliminated silver content completely, and that's one reason why many 1966 quarters found in circulation today don't have much intrinsic metal value. In 1966, over 821 million Washington quarters were minted, all without mint marks. That's because, during the years 1965 to 1967, the U.S. Mint temporarily removed mint marks to discourage coin hoarding and speculation. So whether your 1966 quarter came from Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, it won't show a mint mark. Now, if you're holding a 1966 quarter in bad condition, let's say it's heavily worn, scratched, or stained, it likely won't be worth more than its face value. In circulated or damaged condition, these coins typically trade for 25 cents. They were made in huge numbers, and without silver content, there's no melt value to consider. However, there are a few exceptions to keep in mind. First, error coins from 1966 can be valuable. Some 1966 quarters have been discovered with minting errors, such as off-center strikes, doubled dies, or coins struck on the wrong planchets. For example, a 1966 quarter struck on a nickel planchet or with visible doubling can sell for $50 to several $100s, depending on the error and its condition. These are rare, but always worth looking for. Second, 1966 quarters in high, mint state condition, coins that have never been circulated and still have full original luster, can be valuable to collectors. If professionally graded by PCGS or NGC as MS66 or higher, they can fetch $30 to over $100. The highest grades, like MS67 Plus, have sold for several $100s at auction. But if you've got a quarter that's seen better days, the value remains low unless there's something unusual about it, like an error or a rare die variety. So what should you do if you have a 1966 Washington quarter in bad condition? It's a great opportunity to learn about coin grading and what makes some coins more desirable than others. It might not be valuable now, but it's a piece of history from a key moment in U.S. coinage when silver was removed and mint marks were temporarily eliminated. That makes it worth hanging on to for educational or sentimental value, even if it won't bring a big payout. Next up, the 1974 Washington quarter was minted just a couple of years before the United States celebrated its bicentennial. It was a time of high coin production, inflation concerns, and no silver in circulation coins. So what makes the 1974 quarter special? Let's explore. First, a bit of background. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to honor George Washington's 200th birthday. By the time we get to 1974, the quarter had already gone through one major change, the removal of silver in 1965. So, like all quarters from 1965 onward, the 1974 version is made of a copper-nickel-clad composition. That means it's not made of silver, and its base metal content is worth less than face value. In 1974, over 800 million quarters were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, with no mint mark, and over 350 million were struck at the Denver Mint, marked with a small D on the obverse, next to Washington's ponytail. There were also proof versions minted in San Francisco, bearing an S mint mark, but those were not intended for circulation and were sold in special proof sets. Now, let's talk about value in fine condition. A 1974 Washington quarter in fine, F12 grade, shows moderate wear. You can still see all the major design elements like George Washington's hair details and the eagle's feathers on the reverse, but they are flattened. These coins are common and easy to find in pocket change or old coin jars. In this condition, the coin's value is generally just 25 cents, its face value. That's because there are so many of them still in existence, and they don't contain any precious metal. Even if the coin is decades old, it's not considered rare or especially collectible in average circulated condition. However, if your 1974 quarter is in higher grades, like uncirculated mint state condition, it could be worth more. Coins graded MS65 or higher can sell for $5 to $20. While those in exceptionally high grades like MS67 or with eye-catching luster and strike quality can sell for $100 or more, especially if professionally graded by services like PCGS or NGC. There are also rare errors from this year. Some 1974 quarters were struck on the wrong planchets or showed doubling of the lettering or design, known as doubled die errors. These are quite rare, but if you spot one, its value can rise significantly, sometimes selling for hundreds of dollars, depending on the error and condition. So what should you do if you have a 1974 quarter in fine condition? While it likely doesn't carry any special value to collectors, it's still a great way to learn about modern U.S. coinage. Keep it if you enjoy collecting by date, and definitely inspect it closely for any signs of errors or unusual features. In summary, a 1974 Washington quarter in fine condition is typically worth its face value, 25 cents. But if you find one in uncirculated condition or with a known error, it could be worth considerably more. Either way, it's a neat piece of history from an era when America was preparing to celebrate 200 years of independence. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. It became so popular that it replaced the standing Liberty quarter and continued to be minted every year since. By 1995, the coin had already been part of everyday American life for over 60 years. The 1995 P quarter was minted at the Philadelphia Mint, which is indicated by the small P mint mark on the front of the coin just next to Washington's ponytail. Over 1.1 billion of these quarters were struck that year, making it one of the most common modern quarters in circulation. Like all quarters made after 1965, the 1995 P Washington quarter is composed of a copper nickel clad, not silver. This means that its intrinsic metal value is very low, and most of these coins are still only worth their face value of 25 cents in circulated condition. If you find a 1995 P quarter in fine or very fine condition, meaning it shows signs of wear, but the major details are still visible, it will still be worth only face value. However, coins that were never used and have been preserved in mint state condition can be worth a little more. In uncirculated grades such as MS-63 to MS-65, these coins can sell for around $1 to $5, depending on their luster, strike, and overall eye appeal. The most valuable examples are those graded MS-67 or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC. These high-grade specimens are rare and can fetch $50 to $100 or more at auction. But keep in mind, such high-quality examples must be nearly perfect and free from marks, scratches, or dull areas. There are also some rare error coins from 1995 that can significantly increase a coin's value. Some of the known errors include off-center strikes, double die obverse errors, and coins struck on the wrong planchet. These types of errors are not common, but if you happen to find one, its value could range from a few $100s to several thousand, depending on the severity and uniqueness of the error. Always examine your coins closely with a magnifying glass or under proper lighting to look for anything unusual. In conclusion, the 1995 P Washington quarter is a very common coin, and in circulated condition, it is usually worth only its face value. However, uncirculated and error varieties can carry a premium for collectors. It's a coin that represents modern American coinage and is an essential part of any complete Washington quarter collection. If you come across one in exceptional condition or find a strange error, it may be worth having it professionally graded. Next up, the Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to honor George Washington's 200th birthday. It was originally intended as a one-year commemorative coin, but its design was so well received that it became the standard quarter in circulation. Fast forward to 1981, and the Washington quarter had already been through several changes, most notably the switch from 90% silver to copper nickel, clad in 1965. The 1981 P quarter was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and it features the P mint mark on the obverse side of the coin, just to the right of Washington's ponytail. That year, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 601 million of these coins, which means they are still very common in circulation today. The composition of the 1981p quarter is the standard clad formula used for modern quarters. An outer layer, made of 75% copper and 25% nickel, bonded to a pure copper core. The coin has a diameter of 24.3 millimeters and weighs 5.67 grams. On the obverse, it features the familiar portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan, while the reverse shows the heraldic eagle with wings spread, holding arrows, and olive branches, a design that remained in use until 1998. Now let's talk about value. In circulated condition, the 1981p Washington quarter is typically only worth its face value of 25 cents. It's a coin you can still find in pocket change or coin jars, and unless it is in uncirculated condition, it doesn't carry any special premium. However, collectors do look for high-grade examples in mint state. An uncirculated 1981p quarter, graded MS63, might sell for about $1 to $3. In MS65 condition, which is considered gem quality, the coin could fetch around $5 to $10. The real value comes with coins graded MS67 or higher, which are rare and highly sought after by collectors. These top-grade examples can sell for $50 to $100 or more, especially if certified by PCGS or NGC. There are also a few known era coins from this year that can raise a quarter's value significantly. Some 1981p quarters have been found with off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or other striking errors. These can be worth anywhere from a few dollars to several hundred, depending on the severity and uniqueness of the error. Always inspect your coins carefully for anything out of the ordinary. In summary, the 1981p Washington quarter is a common coin with high mintage, and in most cases it will only be worth face value. However, coins in exceptional uncirculated condition or with rare mint errors can be worth considerably more. If you happen to have one that looks flawless or has an unusual strike, it might be worth having it examined by a professional grading service. Next up, the Washington quarter has been a staple of American currency since 1932, originally designed to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. By 1982, it had been in circulation for 50 years. However, that year brought some important changes in the way coins were produced. The 1982 D quarter was minted in Denver, as shown by the D mint mark on the obverse of the coin near Washington's ponytail. That year, the Denver Mint struck over 480 million quarters, which means the coin is still fairly common in circulation. One unique factor about the 1982 D quarter is that it was produced during a period of U.S. mint cost cutting. In 1982 and 1983, the Mint did not release uncirculated mint sets, which made it harder for collectors to find high-quality examples of these coins. As a result, uncirculated 1982 D quarters in excellent condition are somewhat harder to come by than in other years. The composition of the 1982 D quarter is standard for modern quarters. It is made of a copper nickel clad, meaning the coin has a copper core with a nickel alloy outer layer. It weighs 5.67 grams and measures 24.3 millimeters in diameter. Now, let's talk about the black color appearance. Many people come across 1982 D quarters that look unusually dark or almost black. This is usually not due to a rare mint error, but rather environmental damage or long-term exposure to the elements. A black or dark-toned quarter may have been buried in soil, exposed to chemicals, or stored in poor conditions for decades. The dark color can also result from oxidation of the nickel layer. While these dark coins can look interesting, they usually do not increase the coin's value unless the toning is attractive, even, and naturally developed, something that collectors may appreciate in rare cases. As for value, a circulated 1982 D quarter, even with dark or black coloration, is usually worth just its face value of 25 cents. However, if you find one in uncirculated or mint state condition, especially graded MS65 or higher, it can be worth more due to the difficulty of finding pristine examples from that year. In MS-63 condition, a 1982 D quarter might be worth around $2 to $4. In MS-65, values can rise to $10 to $20, and in MS-67 or higher, the coin could be worth over $100 depending on the quality and market demand. Rare mint errors from the 1982 D quarter series can also bring high value. These include off-center strikes, double dies, and missing clad layers. A missing clad layer could cause the coin to have a copper appearance on one side and might be mistaken for a blackened coin at first glance. Such errors can range from $50 to several hundred, depending on the severity and certification by a grading service. In summary, the 1982 D Washington quarter is a common coin, but it's still an important one to examine closely. Dark or black-toned examples are usually caused by environmental exposure and typically do not carry extra value unless they show natural and appealing toning. However, if you have a high-grade uncirculated version or a known mint error, it could be worth far more than face value. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy learning about coins and collecting tips, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Drop a comment below if you have a 1982 D quarter or if you've come across a coin with unusual coloring. Until next time, happy collecting.